Hello, podcast people. Welcome back. It's Chris Black. We're going to keep it professional. Hello, how you doing? I be doing all right. Don't get actual mama name. I say how they be doing. So anyway, we've got 3 wonderful segments for you, hand-picked, cultivated. I know because I made them already. We're going to talk about TV back in the day, and today we're going to kick around a little bit about those around you every day, and kind of a little montage of my wife and kid being on. I'm home by myself. Well, kind of. I've got my 3 pets. But anyway, so I'm home by myself, kind of chilling, hanging out a little bit. And then we're going to talk about a little behind the scenes of the podcast and kind of where things are going. And if you make it all the way to that last segment about where we're going, I have a surprise announcement. You're not going to believe it because I don't either. But now that I've said it, I have to do it. So let's get started. So, if you're anything like me, I don't watch television the way I once did. When we were kids, we'd sit there in front of the TV and, Hey Dude would come on, or, Clarissa Explains It All, Nickelodeon shows, all kinds of different things. But you had to be there at the appointed time in order to watch the program. And, of course, you learned about other programs in the commercial while that one was going on, Double Dare, now at its new time at 4:30, Central Standard Time or whatever. So there was a lot of, I don't even want to use the word planning because it wasn't planning necessarily, but you had to know, hey, if you wanted to watch that particular program, on Sundays at 5 o'clock or whatever, like you had to be in front of the TV. And in my household, generally speaking, Sundays were the sacred NFL days. So we watched TV in my parents' bedroom. And we just set up shop in there, man. And, we watched a lot of TV compared to kids today, just because it was, it was on and, it was something to do. And anyway, so nowadays, when I want to watch something, I can kind of scroll through the old streaming options and, God, there's so many of them, man. I remember when DVR hit the scene, I'm like, I can record a program and go back and watch it without commercials at my leisure. I can record an entire series of something if I really wanted to and go back and watch it at my leisure. And guess what? We did and thought that was the coolest technology on the planet. And at the time, it was. But I'm going to tell you a secret. We thought streaming was the best thing ever. And that's where we would be, in fact, wrong. So I like the concept of streaming. I like hitting a button and watching whatever it is I haven't seen for a while and this, that, and the other. But here's where it gets you. You got to pay for it, which I'm fine with. Everybody's got to make money. I get it. There's, a money-making component to everything. But it's gotten to the point where it's ridiculous. Case in point, we've been using T-Mobile Whole Home Internet, which is awesome, by the way. It beats the heck out of the cable company we were paying. And anyway, so the bottom line was we got a free 1-year subscription of Paramount Plus, which is fine because I'm not paying for another streaming service. I already paid for Hulu, which is fine. My mother pays for Netflix, which we've had a thing on her account for 10 years at least. I mean, as long as Netflix has been out, she's had it. We've always had, a login on her account. And then, of course, we tried, and I say tried, the Disney Plus, ESPN, Hulu, ridiculousness, whatever. But with ESPN, you have to have a cable provider, which we don't. So anyway, that was kind of useless to us. So we kind of backed down, and we've got the few. And again, I've got a couple of other ones now, but we don't have as many as we once did, and the streaming side of the world it can be complex. And if you want to watch, Young Sheldon, you better have Paramount Plus. But here's the kicker: my Paramount Plus, I get a credit for being a T-Mobile customer, and that's awesome. But I still watch commercials. I still have required advertising, and it's nuts to me that even though I'm paying for something now, Paramount Plus, I'm not necessarily paying for it, but I am. That I still am battling the commercial thing. And I want to watch TV just like I've watched TV. And now there's more of these services. CBS, we can't have people, streaming our stuff. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to come up with our own, which I think was CBS All Access. And then once CBS came up with one, then there was a NBC with the Peacock during the pandemic. See, Peacock slid in under the radar, and I'm going to tell you how and why. During the pandemic, everybody was stuck at home with their loved ones and or siblings, and that was a nightmare after a while. And Peacock said, we're going to give you all of your wonderful favorite television shows that you know and love, so you can have the feel-good TV watching that you used to have, and yada, yada, yada. And it was free with a paid option. That's fine. They got us on that. And then, of course, it's really not free at all. They've got a couple things you can kind of get into. But the point I'm making is the way we've watched television has changed. Now, I've said all that to say this. When I watch TV, I need to go one of two places. My mind is always working. So I either want to shut my brain off and watch something that I can just get into a series and enjoy over a period of time. Like Sons of Anarchy was awesome for that. I loved SOA. And the sad part is, the first time I watched it, and yes, I said the first time because I've seen it all the way through twice, I missed the first 6 episodes of the first season. So I was kind of flying blind when certain things happened later on in the series. And then the other side of it is, I watch things that are, I don't want to say business related, but I always try to expand my mind with new ideas and concepts. So when things like The Deadliest Catch are available, and they've got one now that was a spinoff of that with one of their boat captain's sons who's in Hawaii, fishing in his dad's legacy and trying to figure this out and that out, whatever. That stuff's cool to me. His father passed away back in 2010, and he was a world-renowned boat captain, and he's trying to follow this dream of things that he found in his cabin when they were redoing his dad's boat. So that kind of relates to me in a sense, but I watch what these people are doing, and I take some of those ideas and those concepts, and I'm able to, kind of understand. Maybe it gives me an idea, which it has in the past, by the way. Years ago, when I was watching, this tells you how long it's been. I was watching Lizard Lake Towing, and they were doing repossession work and this, that, and the other, and we didn't really get into repos. We were out in a towing company at the time, but there was something they were doing with, I was watching them take cars with snatch trucks, and I was digging the concept, and at the time, I only had one truck. So it was time to get a second truck, but I wasn't sure what I wanted, and by watching that show, and a subsequent show that was doing, repossession work, which I sought out, by the way, I actually went and bought a snatch truck, a repossession truck, basically, because I knew that I could, do more work with a snatch truck because it was easier to load. You literally back up, pick it up, strap it down, and go. It was a lot less work. And because I had a pickup bed on it, I was able to, put a bunch of tools and things of that nature in the deal there. So it kind of changed the way I did business for a little bit. And it was a good truck, and it was a good concept. And, of course, the next truck I bought was a standard wrecker. But that idea came from watching these guys back up to cars and they were gone. I'm like, well, hell, if they're snatching cars in 30 seconds in front of people's house, yeah, we're AAA. We're not trying to steal people's cars. But, if we can, cut that call time down, man, that'd be awesome. So those are my two reasons for watching television. So, it's just funny how it's changed. And, I used to enjoy it. Of course, I think we watched more TV because we had to back in the day. Now you can, sit down with your dinner and watch an episode of, whatever. And even the way they produce TV shows, I grew up with, Home Improvement, Roseanne, The Huxtables, Full House, things of that nature. They brought some of those back, and it's really, when Fuller House came back, I was like, wow, this is a piece of my childhood I'll share with my kids. And it was, but it was the woke version. It was the, I guess it kind of grew with us. It didn't really stay with, the 80s theme that we thought it would. It kind of, it was 2017 or whatever year it was it came out, San Francisco, blah, blah, blah. And all the crap that goes on in the world today. So that part was kind of interesting to me, but it did kind of, it was a little nostalgic in a way. The Connors came back, and of Of course, that show used to be called Roseanne. It was named after her creator, Roseanne. And after she said and did some things that were unsavory and, the woke generation went against what she had to say, she actually was killed off her own show. And the show's no longer called Roseanne. Even though it was her brainchild, it's called The Conners now. And again, that's another one. They kind of stepped into the woke side of the world as far as the, very extreme with certain things. But again, I see that, Hollywood portrays certain things in the entertainment industry. And I think there's an agenda there to a degree. And I think that, the mainstream media wants to kind of, bring us around to certain things. And with television programming, that's really the easiest way to do it. Because again, people who watch this programming, they have your attention. You're kind of bought in. You like the characters. You like what they stand for. And there's an agenda involved. When we were growing up, there may have been an agenda at some point, but, Tim the Toolman Taylor was getting in trouble because he bought that expensive radiator and didn't tell his wife about it. He was trying to hide it. You know what I mean? The real issues of the day, when they would delve into those would be, alcohol and drug abuse, which wasn't every week, by the way. Just from time to time, they kind of slide that in there. One of the most prolific episodes of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that I remember was when Carlton was doing speed and wound up collapsing at the senior prom. And of course, that show was a hilarious show. I watched it for years, but that stood out to me. Or the episode when his dad took off without him, when Will's dad, came to, let's go for the summer. And I had some things come up and he left. That was, but beyond that, it was very, funny and it was comical, and you invite them into your home for the week. For the most part, it was wholesome every week, Now it's kind of changed a little bit, but, entertainment as a whole has changed considerably. So why do we expect anything any different? So usually when I do these podcasts, I'm in a quiet place and there's some preparation. Believe it or not, I do prepare for these things more or less. It's kind of interesting today. It's a Saturday. I'm actually at home. My wife and 2 children are out of town, which is, I don't get these vacations very often. And yes, it is a vacation. While it is a staycation, it is a vacation for me. But I think my kids and my wife think that when they leave me here by myself, it's like the equivalent of going to like Mexico and jumping on the party barges and, doing stupid stuff internationally. That's my belief. I'm not sure, but you get a vacation away from us. And that's true. But put in perspective, they've been gone for 36 hours. So in 36 hours, I've tripped every breaker in my kitchen, making breakfast, because apparently my house was built in 1955 when you can only use one appliance at a time. The truth is my house was actually built in 1994, and I figured I could run the coffee maker, the microwave, and the toaster at the same time. Apparently not. Had a good day yesterday, get home, let Mr. Buddy out, got the dogs out, they're playing, everybody's having a good time, and it's time for day to make some dinner, and, of course, we're doing turkey dogs, and, I'm in the kitchen getting things ready, and hear the chirp. Every about 90 seconds, I keep hearing this chirp, and it's in stereo, and I'm like, what is the deal with this? Apparently, the fire alarms, or fire smoke detectors, whatever you want to call them, that I installed about 5 years ago have reached their limit. So now I've got to rectify that. So I'm like, okay, that's no big deal. This was last night. And of course, they chirped for about an hour and they stopped chirping, which was fine. I knew I had to take care of it. Duly noted. Thank you. Well, I'd forgotten about it, even though it was on my list of things to accomplish today. Kind of forgot about it. So long story short, about 3 o'clock this morning, guess what circles around? Deep. Okay. So I got up and I remedied that situation. Fortunately, it wasn't too bad. But I was like, man, this is ridiculous. I can't seem to catch a break around here. And there's some other odds and ends, that you just kind of, I don't notice because there's a lot of things I don't do. I mean, I eat every day, obviously, but I don't necessarily, cook in my kitchen. every day. My wife does, kids do, but, we don't, it's not my job to cook every day. Like, I don't cook all the meals. So, some things I just don't notice. So one of the things that I complain about a lot is my wife likes to keep the counters clear in the kitchen, which I'm good with. She doesn't like to harbor them with, things on the counter and cluttering and all that, which again, I get it 100%. But I eat toast every morning for breakfast. Why I have to pull the toaster out every day, I'll never know. So while she's gone, and she doesn't listen to my podcast anyway, so I'm really not worried about it, I'm going to take a stand and I'm going to leave the toaster on the counter the entire time she's gone. And I even had to move one of her decorative whatevers on the counter. She's got 3 of those decorative canisters that she painted. They look real pretty, and that's all nice and well and good. Yeah, well, they cover a plug, so I had to separate one from the middle because there's 3 of them to plug it in, and so I'm going to leave it like that. And that's just how it's going to be for now on. I got my meals planned out. I was given some options, and that's all well and good. But, I have to make sure that some of the things have to be thawed because they're frozen, and some of the things are, I have to pick up things for and all that. So there's a level of planning that I'm not used to. But last night, that was one of the things that I did, was kind of figured out, the game plan. Well, the other side of this is when everybody's gone, I get to deal with the Black family pets. And I love my babies, all of them, or they wouldn't still be here. But there's normally 3 of us here for when Skylar's home. And we get to spread the love out over several people, which is great. Except Mr. Buddy, who's still a puppy. He's, about 9 months old. He usually spreads his love out over 3 people. And that's handy. I mean, he drives me nuts some days. But the fact he can spread his love out is great. But now it's just me. So when I get home, he's crying in his crate, jumping up and down, bouncing around like he's been left forever, which he hadn't. It's only his normal 6 hours. And just nuts. Hadn't left my side, been my shadow. Going to have to go out in a little bit to get some things and fill in some blanks. And I don't know what he's going to do when he has to go back in his crate. But so that responsibility, of course, that falls on me, which is fine. And then Jasper, who is also crate trained, he stays in his crate, a lot of the time. He now depends solely on me to take him in and out. And, and again, it's different when you have several people kind of, sharing the load of work. But then there's the cat. Lord Byron, we don't hear from him for hours at a time. But when we do hear from him, it's usually between the hours of midnight and 4 a.m. And it's usually loud and annoying and obnoxious when we do hear from him. And he's usually standing at the foot of my bed because he has no better sense. So, again, you don't realize how many things that go on in your day-to-day life are contributed to the wonderful acts of others. And so while my family does drive me crazy most days, they've got something going on that's nuts. I really do appreciate them in a lot of ways, not just for the things that they do, but it's quiet around here. And, Friday night was boring. I mean, I sat there and watched a couple of episodes of a show I was watching, and I was like, wow, this is what everybody, that doesn't have, family gets to do. Like, how do you, I guess I'm just used to spending time with other people or being around. I'm social, I guess. So, it's nice to sit at home by yourself, I guess, but I couldn't do it all the time. It'd drive me a little crazy after a while. But again, I'm used to, coming home and hanging out with the wife and, talking about the day's events or whatever. And Christopher comes in and complains about something or has something to say. It's just kind of funny. Like I said, you get into these different modes, if you will. And at the end of the day, it kind of gives me a different appreciation for the role that everybody plays in the family. And some of it's getting things done. They left unload the dishwasher, big whoop. I enjoy stuff like that. Keeping up with the day-to-day operation of things is not hard. Especially when it's me and I have to, do things on a consistent basis. It's really not hard because I do it every day and it's fine. But when you start adding other elements to it, you realize, you think, oh, some things just get done. No, they don't just get done. There are people behind them that are getting things done. So, when you have a team of people, whether it's at the office or at home, appreciate those people. Stop and look around and say, wow, I didn't realize that something as simple as, letting the dog out, that takes a lot off your shoulders, and the dog appreciates it. And of course, again, I'm the only one here, so I am the focus. And all three animals have decided that they're going to focus on me. So when they need something, they know where to come. It's kind of funny in a way, and one thing that Scout's kind of getting into, Mr. Buddy, that's his other name, he's getting into discovering the world around him. So when a car pulls into the driveway, he goes nuts. There's somebody walking by the house and he sees him out the window, he goes nuts. And why would I let him look out the window? It's not my choice. Lord Byron likes to sit in the windows and watch the outside world go by. So again, this is something that Scout has figured out. So now if he thinks there's somebody in the yard, he goes bananas, just barks. And it doesn't matter what time of the day or night it is either. So I feel fairly confident that no matter what happens, I'm not going to have to worry about somebody sneaking up on me, because Mr. Buddy will let me know way in advance. I'll have plenty of time to fight or flight and figure out what's what. So again, I'm enjoying my little staycation. I've got a few days left, and looking forward to seeing what the future holds. And again, just those people that are in your life, I know you don't think about it every day, because why would you? But, just stop and think about the things they do to make your life easier. And, hey, maybe say thank you, or, give them a hug or something. Show them some love. I mean, I do miss my family, though. I can't wait for them to be back. And again, it's not about what they can do for me. It's about what we do together as a family unit. So there you go. So I just wanted to kind of address some things. I actually have been getting some emails and some feedback from some of these podcasts, so I thought this was kind of an interesting thing. So I thought I'd share this with you. I had a gentleman send me an email the other day, and he was like, where do you get the ideas for your content? How much time do you spend editing, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. So we'll call this little segment Behind the Curtain. Behind the Curtain. So when I decided I wanted to do a podcast, I really wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go and necessarily what I wanted to accomplish with it. And so away we go. Now I'm kind of, zoning in on that a little bit more and kind of figuring out which direction I'm headed. And, I like the solo host style for now. And it's easy because I can kind of do this on my own time, and I don't have to coordinate with another person. And it just works out. And I feel like I give good quality content as a solo person. And I try to do, 3 segments, roughly, 10 minutes a hit. And, kind of that switches it up, and that way you and I can have some good quality time together, because again, this is why I do this, is 100% for you. And I don't really have a reason to do this without somebody listening to it. So anyway, so first and foremost, some days I have a list of topics and I kind of go through it. I'm like, I want to talk about this, this, and this. Other days I'm like, God, I don't know. Whatever, I've had this on my mind, or I want to talk about this, or just depends on how I feel that day, and I mean that. So this podcast that I'm putting together today, for example, is, my folks are my wife and kids are out of town, so I've got a little bit of time, and, I thought it would be, quiet time to put together some things and that I've noticed, and maybe you have too. And sometimes I think I'm crazy. I used to watch comedians on like stand-up comedy shows and so forth growing up, and they would talk about certain things, and I'm like, gosh, I can totally relate to that. You know what I mean? And I was probably about 13 years old the first time it ever happened. I was watching when Rosie O'Donnell used to host one of the comedy shows on whatever channel it was. And she was talking about getting out of bed early one morning after being up late, and that her whole day was off. And I was like 13 years old. And I'm like, yeah, I totally feel that. Well, I did, but I didn't. You know what I mean? So I was like, I could totally relate to that. And then as I would watch, more comedians, and I loved stand-up comedians back in the day, and it's something I always aspire to do, which is a whole another episode. But anyway, so it was so relatable, and so that's why I figured, some of these things that I go through, I may be the only person in the world that, goes through some of these things, and then I realize, and I get feedback like, no, I've been there, and I find that when this happens, this is what I do. So that's kind of the motivation for what I do. And I ran into a friend of my wife's in the Dollar General. And it's kind of a funny thing. I'd stopped there for one reason or another, and I was trying to be in and out. And I ran into one of my wife's good friends, and she's like, I've been listening to your podcast, and it's very interesting. And like, what do you want to do with it? What's your goal? I'm like, I'm just kind of having fun with it and all that. And it dawned on me, I want to have fun with it and do it for me and get these things off my chest. And, if I'm dead, when I'm dead and gone, because Lord knows it's coming one day, my digital footprint will be here on the earth forevermore until they close Apple Podcasts and get rid of my stuff. So, what I had to say, maybe it's important, maybe it's not, but it's there. Listen to it. If not, whatever. But the other side of it too was, I would like to get to a point where all these experiences that I've had give me an opportunity to share with others and enrich other people's lives as well. And if I can parlay that into a monetization situation, I'm down with that. I've lived a very interesting life. I've done a lot of interesting things that, some people are like, gosh, I could never do that. Well, when you understand the why I did it, it makes the story that much more interesting. We've got some things coming up that I'm going to be sharing. Graduation season's kind of come and gone. I wanted to wait for graduation season to go away to share my high school graduation story, but that one's coming up in a future episode. And what I did after high school was vastly different than what you're ever told to do and what most people do. So, there's things that, again, when you understand more of my story, it makes sense how I wound up being a banker for a period of time and, owning a towing business for a period of time and big box retail manager. And I've done all kinds of things in my life, and, some things for very short periods of time, and some things were part of my life for a very long time. And I've met a lot of friends along the way. And I think those experiences have helped me to be able to help other people. And when I listened to someone, my wife's boss called me yesterday to check on me and make sure I was good to go. And we were talking, and I was like, man, I can, just telling me he's having a rough week. And I said, gosh, I can totally relate to that. I had a week like that, not too long ago, and we started kind of comparing notes, and, he kind of got a chuckle out of it, and I did too. And I'm like, man, it's good to know that, if we didn't have, bad luck, we wouldn't have any luck at all. And so he agreed. And now we kind of have something else that, we just kind of chuckled about it, went on about our day, but, we're not the only ones. So I think that was part of my motivation for really, cranking out the good stuff on the podcast. And one of the things that I'm learning every day, when I shoot these, sometimes I listen to them, sometimes I don't. It just depends on, what the day looks like or how I'm feeling that day. For the most part, it's rough cut, sign off, done and done. Is that a good thing? No idea. But that's what I've been doing so far. And, if I ever get into a situation where I have sponsors and, money to throw at software and equipment, things like that, hey, we could be dangerous. But it goes back to what I was talking about in my last episode. I always wanted to, be the hot shot disc jockey on the radio and, waking people up in the mornings or getting them on that drive home. And, unfortunately in today's world, especially with radio, that's not really how it's done anymore. It's a completely different world as it comes to those items. So again, the podcast is kind of my bridge to the terrestrial radio side and, leaving something out there to promote the content and information that you have. So my next item of business, and I'm going to go ahead and put this out in the universe because it's going to make me actually do it now, is I'm working on a book. It'll probably be a digital book you can download on Amazon or whatever, but I do want to publish a book at some point. So I've got some ideas going for that, and we'll see what happens. But anyway, well, the Mr. Buddy and the cat Lord Byron are getting into a bit of a scuffle, so I guess I better go handle that. But hey, thanks for hanging out with me, and look forward to seeing you next time. Well, it appears our time together has come to an end. I thank you so much for hanging out with me and spending a little bit of time with me today. I know you had a lot of other things you could be doing, but hey, whenever you hang out with me, it's like hanging out with a friend every single time. So good to see you as always. I hope to see you again next week. And man, have a great rest of the day and a great rest of your week.